Okay.
Good evening.
Hi, guys.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
How we
Oh,
doing?
wow. So I'd just like to say, I know it's a little bit of a depressing backdrop, but it is just a little bit of a, farewell to a very great lady. And just like to say thank you very much to Her Majesty, who's now resting in peace. And we're going to slowly bring ourselves out of a little bit of mourning, and we'll start to change some of the photos again, and hopefully we can get back to some proper cheery stuff tonight with Conor, because it's all going to just be a joke, isn't it? Really, from that side of things.
Well,
Yeah.
Talking of great people, why don't we talk about Conor?
That's I think that's an excellent lead in from the Queen to the King.
Right?
Do you like that?
Where does he come with these things?
I watched. Did you watch the funeral, guys? Did you, or are you working?
I watched a bit.
Did you?
I watched a bit.
I watched it. I watched a bit of it. Yeah, just to kind of. I just had it in the background, just watched a bit. But I have to say, I was kind of struck. Didn't think I would be, but I was kind of struck when I saw Charles standing there and a bit of a tear in his eye. And I wrote a post there which seemed to resonate. But I think if you wrote anything about the funeral, it would resonate with a lot of people. But I just said it was very brought it right down to me that it was like, that's the reality of it. It's just a guy burying his mum, and I kind of thought, my God, it'd be hard to do that in front of all those people and standing there and trying to be proper and tough gig. I think, So you wouldn't envy it, would you? You wouldn't envy that's a tough job when you think about it. Palaces and whatnot. Forget that. Yeah, tough gig. So fair play. She did.
Anyway, so this evening we are going to be talking about. Conor is going to be doing a lot of talking. We're going to be asking a few questions if we can get a word in edgeways. We're going to say thank you very much to all our Patreon people. Bren, have you got the Patreon? I can never remember it. Just to say,
www.patreon.com/RawPetMedics. That's www.patreon.com/RawPetMedics, as it says along the bottom of the screen. But for those listening
Patreon.com
on
RawPetMedics,
Audible and Apple and
Spotify,
just about any other Spotify, training, teaching, whatever,
lots of podcasts
that you listen to, you should be able to also find us.
Yeah, it's a little buzz having a look on Spotify and seeing you there with 50 episodes. It's like, oh, I can't believe it. Like, it's hard to believe it. I don't know why. It's just something. I don't know. It always impresses me a bit. But anything exciting happened this week, lads? Before we launch into my interest in history.
Well, I think something's very exciting has happened this evening. Just now, Glenda Hoffman Johnson is joining us from the beautiful mountains of North Carolina.
That sounds nice.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we've got somebody called Karen Reed from Essex, and that's pretty cool as well. Have to say that, otherwise she's going to nobble me on Friday. So good to see you. And everybody's there. To. It's great.
It's Friday, isn't it? Friday. We're all going to be there on Friday.
We are. We're going to Barcelona.
Yeah, Barcelona. Can't wait. Can't wait to arrive. Because I'm getting on a red eye. 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm working late on Thursday night. I'll be finished at about 11, half 11, and then I'm up at 4 o'clock. There's no way I'm going to sleep for an hour or two after work. I'm dreading that. But anyway, we'll get there. Because flying into Barcelona City is not easy. Ryanair want to put you in Barcelona, which is an hour and a half away from the city. I mean, the audacity. Bloody hell, that's some business. They're like, oh yeah, we'll fly you there for €15. And then you just have to get in this bus and, sweaty. No, don't want that. But,
hey, Conor, do you know what we're doing tomorrow?
What are you doing tomorrow?
Ellie and I are doing tomorrow.
Go on.
We are getting on the 10:20 to Barcelona tomorrow, Wednesday.
What?
How cool is that? Just to have a few days to chill out.
Are you
before we hit the ground? Yes.
Yeah, fair. What are you doing with the kids? Where did the kids go?
The kids staying with Ellie's mum.
That's not right. That's not fair. Don't need to hear that. As I sit here with my mild illness. Nursing a funny gut. But anyway, yeah. So anything else happened this week? Can't think of anything else.
Any news?
Oh, just I've just bless. I want to say a big shout out to one of my vets who she won't mind me saying had to go into hospital this last week following previous week, one of my vets giving birth to a child. Okay, Gloria, welcome. Gloria May, welcome to the world. And then one of my other vets has had to rush into hospital. So it's been a little bit hectic. I've been working today.
That's the life of a small businessman right there. There you go.
Isn't it? Yes,
yeah,
that's what happens. But it's one of those. So, but so looking forward to meeting up with everybody on Friday. You know, getting all my ducks in a row ready for that. So it's all good. It's all good. And just you know, been having a great laugh playing with my new kitten that's been running me ragged, and handling. I've now got 7 new baby goats running around the fields. So it's sort of like, it's all good. It's all good.
Nice. You can't beat a bit
babies. So let's get into Brady.
Go for it.
So, Conor, just give us a little a brief rundown of your first early years. You can choose whether that's your first 5 years or your first 21, but just give us a little background, because I think over the past couple of years or so, we've heard a few stories, but just put it all together so we've got a little bit of foundation there, if you would be so kind.
Okay, brief.
What brought you here? That's the question. What brought you here? The early years.
I think, you know, always into dogs, always had dogs from the day I was born. Are you all right? Has Nick been cut off, Brent? Has he been cut off for you?
No, I'm here.
No,
I'm here.
He's still there.
All right, cool. So yeah, no, it's for me, like, we always had dogs in the house, and I was always very kind of attached to them. I always did everything with them. So they always followed me to school, followed me to the shop. There was always those sort of stories. So I was obviously fairly attached to these dogs, the youngest of 5 boys. So at least somebody was talking to me in the family, because the other 4 brothers are fighting for attention. So you can get it from the dog. And yeah, so that was then around 11, 12. I was clearly not the easiest of kids. I think I was just a bit rambunctious and slightly challenging, and I've carried that with me to today, I think. But my mum said, you know, this kid is being a bit of a twat, and let's just put him somewhere that he's useful. What do you want to do? And I couldn't think of anything. We ended up she drove me to an animal shelter every Saturday morning. I sat in the car for 2 hours while I worked in the animal shelter, picking up poo and doing all the stuff you do in an animal shelter. And within about 6 months, the animal shelter started paying me a very small amount of money, a $5, you know. And so anyway, I did that for a couple of years, and that was the start of it. Meeting dogs that I adored, seeing them coming in and coming out, not getting adopted. That kind of started leaving its mark, and meeting the vets, and meeting my dad's mate, who was the head man in the Department of Agriculture here in Ireland for 33 years, chief vet for 33 years. That would never happen anymore. And later kind of saved my bacon a bit. But so that sort of stuff was my youth. And then clearly I wanted to work with animals, and I'd say I probably would have done veterinary if I got the points, but I kind of realized by 5th, 6th year I just couldn't do languages. I had too many languages on my thing. I'd chosen wrong. I'd chosen what my mum probably wanted me to choose in school. You get to choose your subjects. If I had my way, I should have done, you know, things that I can make. You know, I thought it would have been ideal at that. Anyway, I come out of leaving cert and I went into science, which is what I wanted to do after vet. I don't even know if I put veterinary on my course. I don't think I was confident getting near. Got into science, did science. The first 2 years of science are absolutely so hard. Just subjects I did not want to do. Straight into chemistry, honors chemistry, which I hate. Straight into maths, which I'm okay at. Botany and geology, rocks. And it's like, mother of God, is there no animals in the science category? And so that first year was hellish. The second year I had to keep... So like, I was just going from being what I thought was, I was an A student in the A class and all sort of stuff. I knew I was bright. I think I was just not able for some of the other lessons that I wasn't interested in. I couldn't focus on shit that I didn't want to do, and that was my problem. I was like a little bold kid in those classes. Never went to them, just hated it. Never saw the point. But by 3rd year, 4th year, you start doing the animal stuff. I imagine it's the same with veterinary. You start getting into it then. It's like, oh, this is cool. And then as I left the degree, I was like, what the hell am I going to do now? And I was getting on very well with a supervisor there, and he said, look, there's a PhD here waiting for you, and you'd be good at it because it's horrible. And I'm like, okay, what's this doozy of a project? And he goes, well, nobody else will do it, but we can get you in and out nice and quick if you'll do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, what is it? So it was the diet, studying the diet of the deer in Phoenix Park, the effect it has on their behavior and dispersal patterns and gut morphology. You track them through the seasons. A lot of culling, a lot of dead animals, pulling them out of the side of a roadside, bloated, pulling out the guts, bringing them back to the lab. Hardcore job. One time I did it on a bus, and I'm not exaggerating. I went on a bus from Phoenix Park to UCD with a bag of stale guts. So tough project. And you might ask, why did you do that, Conor? Well, I don't know. Like I knew when I was.
Why were you single? Why were you single for so many years?
In my little gut room, and you could see like people would just look in and go, "Oh," it's like, yeah, it's crap, literally. But that's like a year or two. So that was hard work. But I wasn't afraid of that, and I kind of had my eyes on the prize, which was I did want to come out after 3 or 4 years, and I finished in 3 years and a couple of months, 3 years and 4 months, which is fairly quick. And so I got it done and got it written up, and next thing I know, I'm coming out with a PhD in animal behavior, and I'm like, right, who wants me now, guys? And it's like, nobody. There's no positions for you. So you can study yourself into these holes, as people with PhDs can do. They spend 10, 15 years in there because they don't want to come out, because there's nothing for them if you've been doing. But that's when I started realizing, I started getting a couple of having chats with people, and they said, you're thinking about your project wrong. It's the discipline of the science more so than anything else. It's like problem solving. It's everything else. So I thought, okay, I remember banking that from a really influential mentor I had in second year. Unfortunately, one of my friends passed away, and this mentor, I was dropping out of science, hated science, and this mentor stepped in. Little did I know. And I had a chat with him. I said, look, I need to leave the course. I hated this. But he kind of forced me to get to the end of the year, and I failed a couple of subjects, and I repeated then at the end of summer. And then I started getting back on track and everything else. But he actually came to my parents, my family shop. My dad's gone now, but my family shop just 4 or 5 years ago, just checking up on me to say, is Conor still around? What's he doing now? And they said, yeah, he went on. He did his doctorate. He's got this business. And they're like, he was delighted. It was not nice. His name was Hubert Fuller. But like those little things kind of got you through. I was very lucky, but he was the one who kind of told me about the discipline of the science of it. That's where I fell in love with the process of investigating something. It sounds incredibly nerdish. I can't believe I'm talking like this, 20 years on, but it's such a buzz. It's such a buzz with an issue, a question. And it's like, this is the project, because this is going to sound so boring to a lot of people, but there's an awful lot of nerds on here as well. We're all animal nerds. That's why you're listening to us. But why do male and female deer live separate during the year? Because group living animals, you survive longer in a pack. The bigger your group, the safer you are, because it's going to be somebody else that buys it, not you. So why do male and female separate? And they cannot pin it down. Go for it, Nick. Oh, geez, I hope not, because I'm after spending 4 years trying to get the answer. And the answer was, no.
Because lucky for them, they haven't invented matrimony in the deer world.
Excellent tax system. But so yeah, this was interesting. Was it because bugs were aggressive, or was it because of diet or whatever? And then you can look at other group living animals. Anyway, I found it fierce interesting. But I particularly like the idea that everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got a hypothesis. Okay, a hypothesis is an idea. Okay, eat less, move more. That's a hypothesis. Okay, but when you test it, it doesn't really work out. It's not a theory. A theory is like concrete. We've tested this hypothesis every which way from Sunday, and it holds up. It becomes a scientific theory. But like eat less, move more, or eating fat makes you fat, or eating fat gives you pancreatitis, and all the other bullshit that we've been told. When you test them, it doesn't. So I love that. I love looking at everybody's ideas, and then you have to put yourself in their shoes and listen to that. So that's been enormously helpful for me when I'm looking at questions that don't seem to have an answer out there, or what do dogs eat? And it's like, well, I don't know, but I can look at it from all these different perspectives. So that was the start of it, really. And I joined Guide Dogs. A job in Guide Dogs came up. There's no need for questions tonight, by the way, guys. You can just turn off your cameras and mics if you want. So feel free if you want to go off and do something else.
Noticed.
This is just an image. I'm asleep.
Just awake glasses on. So yeah. With the weight glasses, but yeah. So I jumped.
Guys, just while he's interrupted for a moment, if any of you guys want to pop a question in there for Conor, do pop them up, because that gives me something to do. Because whilst he's going on, literally, I can do things like that.
My night. It's my night. It's my night. You're not allowed to say anything mean to me. So yeah, I went away to South America to find myself for about 3/4 of a year, and didn't. And then when I came back, as I saw horny, hey Jill, well done, excellent.
She's talking about Brendan and I, Conor.
That's an original gag. I like that. Even I think it's amazing that deer shed those antlers and grow them every year. Isn't that a phenomenal waste of bonage? I mean, bloody hell, a big palmate antlers on these fallow deer, knock them off in April and just grow them again by October, ready for fighting.
Yeah, but they're bigger each year. bigger and better each year.
Do,
and if you didn't regrow them and you broke one, you'd always be left with a broken one.
True, unless the damage is so bad that it does the root in at the same time and they grow a wonky one or a little stub. But yeah, that's it. Oh, that's an interesting point. I didn't realize what it was. I was going to say there's nothing you can tell me about deer, Bren, but there you go. Whatever you said.
Yeah, but he always wants to get in that he's got a little stubby old wonky one. You know, I'm sorry to hear that.
Still, absolutely, still does the job. But so. I came back from South America and this job turned up in guide dogs, and I thought perfect because I was always obsessed with dogs. I tried to get a doctorate doing dog stuff all around Ireland, couldn't. Those doctorates are not available, and it's particularly for a non-vet. And so this deer project, anyway, went into guide dogs as a pup supervisor, looking after 40, 50 pups at a time, which I adored. That was like 9 to 5 puppy immersion, getting paid for it. Amazing training. You can get your own dogs for the first 3 months. You're just in the kennels and living with these dogs and that kind of stuff, but you don't get to train them at all for 3 or 4 months. You're just following the trainers around. So training was just brilliant. Top trainers, really loads of theories. It was fantastic. And did that for 2 or 3 years in Ireland, looking after about 50 families at a time, training the pup up for the first year of life, showing the family how to rear the dog. And these dogs were strictly diet controlled. You have to feed them these bits and pieces. So when you added something in, you could really see the difference. So I started messing around with that, reading the books, learning from, some of the top vets and seeing, I'm sure, some of Nick's stuff and Billinghurst and Lonsdale. And by the time I went over to Australia to do guide dogs, I knew this was the way to go, and Fresh and Raw was creeping in, and I was taking some of our itchy dogs in Australia, fixing them with fresh food, going, look at this. This dog was in the vet 13 times in the last year. Now he's not at all. We're a charity. This is a big saving. And then we beat Brisbane Guide Dogs, who had changed 200 dogs from dry food to raw food. And in the newspaper, I was reading it's like 82% savings in vet bills. And I'm like, what the fudge? I was like, this is astounding. So then I'm talking to the CEO, Chris Lane. I'm like, this is incredible. The change in behavior, the change in the ability of the dogs to train, the stamina on the dog, the rejection rates were falling, but the health of the dog was so much better. Win across the board. I don't need scientific studies after that. I'm a good enough scientist to realize that is a quality kind of anecdotal testimony. She had nothing to prove, no money to make by telling me that. If she was the leader of a raw dog food company, she said that, I'll go, maybe, But when you're just in guide dogs, then anyway, she had a terrible end. They got rid of her and reinstated the dry food when 3 or 4 years later, which must have meant their veterinary bills went up. I went to try and find those figures. I couldn't get them off them, so I thought that was horrific. And so when I ran back to my superiors with this Brisbane thing and this whole raw dog food seminar that I'd started in Perth, and I just showed my superiors, and they're like, yeah, no. And I'm like, I just gave you 3 hours of presentation, and look what this forward-thinking guide dog organization 4 times bigger than us is doing. And they're saying, yeah, no, we've got a good deal with the dry food company, so we'll just stay with them. Now, I know what that deal was, and it was barely 5 figures. And I'm like, you're choosing that on a population of dogs when I'm showing you the savings. I'm showing it. And the vets were not on side. And I thought, well, that's what got me. And I thought, I'll show you. And that's when I sat down to write the book. And that was the start of me going headfirst into raw dog food.
I was going to say, is that what started? You thought, I want to show you.
I'll show you. Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm going to show you. Wow.
Yeah. I've got a big streak of that in me. I don't know what that is or where it came from, but it's like, I don't know. I think I'm fiercely loyal. And I think when somebody, does something like that, it's not a quick kind of snap or revenge or a punch. That's never going to come from me. It'll be like, I'll show you. You are wrong, and you are. And I think everybody needs a bit of that if you're doing something as absolutely horrific as writing a book like the one I wrote, which is another PhD, essentially. And to do that at the same time as I'm going to go back to Ireland and make raw dog food. And hats off to any raw dog food manufacturers out there, because that is one dog shit job. That is hard work. People don't appreciate the effort that goes into running that factory and keeping it clean, and particularly in Ireland when there wasn't any raw dog food companies. There's only 2 or 3 in the UK, and I'm standing in like a football pitch and it's lashing rain. I'm going, well, there's like some ground up fish in a tube, and they're like, what? No, thanks. I'm going, okay, it's salmon, it's very good. Nobody wanted it, and I was like, oh, I've made a terrible mistake. I spent 50 grand. I got 50 grand from the government. And I'm in there 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm in tears. Like, it's just hard work making this stuff yourself because you don't have the money for the staff. And then got it on TV, got it on Dragon's Den, and then it started doing well. So, but that's a hard business, lads. Keeping the vets happy, very.
Like Dragon's Den. Come on, give us the inside scoop on your Dragon's Den experience, because they've had a few food companies on, pet food companies, haven't they?
They have, yeah. I think Butternut Box were on, weren't they? Something like that. I think Butternut Box and a few others got their money.
Pure were on.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. There's a few people that've been on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would use it as it's a great advert, because you're getting, in Ireland, our one's only 500,000-600,000 people watching it, but in Britain you're getting a couple of million people watching the show, so it's a great ad. That's free advertising as long as you do okay. But I'd already been doing seminars and stuff for nutrition and health and stuff, so I was well versed, and for a lot of the questions their questions were useless. But they edit it to make you look a little bit unsure at times. And like, while I would have stumbled here and there, the bits that they made me stumble on was like, I had a great answer for that, and that's the bit you make me look. So, but look, they kind of flagged they were going to do that. But I was coached before I went into it by someone that won Dragon's Den beforehand, and she just said, "Heads up, here's the tricks. Here's the crack. Here's how many people actually take the investment in the end of it. It's TV. It's not business. It's TV. And so, if you say yes to the investment, you're going to get on TV." And I'm like, okay, so you're thinking of all that. But the bloody dog, I wanted to bring on a Great Dane, and I wanted to bring on a 90 kilo, 95 kilo Great Dane. I wanted a show winner Great Dane. So I knew all these dogs. At this stage, I was supplying some of the best dogs in Ireland. And this girl, Caroline, had this stunning Great Dane, can't remember his name, black and white kind of markings on him, just big and beautiful, and a pig to eat food. So no matter what happened, he was going to eat the food. Anyway, he gets sick 2 days beforehand, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to use my own bloody half-wit dog. Actually, no, Dudley wasn't around. Who was it? I can't remember. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to
another spaniel.
yeah, no spaniels, all right. So she goes, oh, her sister will come on. His sister will come on. Also amazing. So great. Her sister comes on. She's beautiful. She comes up the stairs and she's really well trained. And they're all like, oh my God, look at that dog. And impressive, even though she probably wasn't even eating the food. Oh, she goes. In fact, all those dogs were raw fed, but whether they're eating my raw dog food is a different thing, because that would have been, when you've owned 4 or 5 Great Danes, you're not feeding them complete raw. Too easy. That's a serious food bill. So the dog's walking down the stairs, and Gavin Duffy, the guy I wanted, says, go on, show us her eating the food. And my food had been sitting out under lights at this stage for about 3 or 4 hours. There's loads of people watching. There's loads of cameras. And it's like, I'm saying, this is no place for a dog to be eating. The dog's not going to eat there. Do you want to eat a big steak supper at the moment? I don't. I said, no. So I'm saying, no, 10 or 15 minutes of no. And eventually, because he kept pushing me and he was the guy I wanted, I said, all right. And I gave in like a bloody weakling. And I said, Caroline, bring the dog back in. And I'm looking at the dog walking up, and I'm going, oh my God, I've never seen a dog less want to eat something in my entire life. She gets within about half a meter of the bowl. She just kind of smells it for a while and just walks off. And everyone in the cameras were just looking at each other going, like, that's gold, that's going to be good. So that was on repeat and the dog didn't eat the food. I was like, oh shit, it was so embarrassing. But I kind of didn't really mind it that badly. I kind of knew it was going to happen. I thought they'd put in me fighting a little bit, but they didn't. I was like, come on, bring the dog in. And I was like, oh. And but then so then you go through the whole rigmarole and answer their questions.
You're not alone. I do remember, I think one of the TV chefs, I think it was
TV thing.
Martin, what's his name? Martin. Anyway, I think you had Poppy's picnic camp, and they were feeding the meatballs. And his dog just went.
Agony. The agony of it.
The agony. The number of dogs that.
Do you remember the vegan huskies on the morning, the UK morning show?
Yeah.
The vegan huskies, and they put meat down in front of the husky, just goes boom straight into the meat. Oh, it's just on TV. Like these TV guys, lads, if ever you're ever doing anything with TV, they are out for that sort of stuff. They're not in to make you look good or polish your ego. They don't give a shit about it. They're going to dress you down if they can. They're going to set you up. They're going to do research. So the TV is a joke, But if anyone had ever on Dragon's Den, ring me, because I got some excellent coaching from an unbelievable businesswoman before I went in. Some good tips. Actually, what she did as her tip? This is why she's such a success. She's a multi-millionaire now. And she said, come up to my house. She's living in Greystones as well. Come into my house at 1 o'clock and I'll give you a few tips. Okay. She approached me to give me tips, by the way. She heard I was doing it. You must come up to me for tips. Okay. Same age as me, not this kind of gray in the beard kind of businesswoman of 80. And it's like, okay, fair enough. But she was just very experienced, did business in college, went through the rigmarole with investment funding and all sorts of stuff. So I walk in and herself, 2 of her mates and her husband, 4 of them are sitting there in chairs in the sitting room. And I walk in and I'm going, oh no, they've laid it out like Dragon's Den. And I'm like, herself and her 2 nice mates. And I'm thinking, this is so embarrassing. And she goes, that's not what you say to us. We're dragons. Out you go, come back in again. And I'm like, oh, and I'm just sweating, cold sweat. Come back in again. I'm trying to stop. She goes, give us your presentation. You've done it. I bumble through the words, go back out, do it again. And after 4 or 5, she relents and I'm just sweating. And she goes, it's never going to be that bad again. And I'm like, oh, nice one. So it's kind of like a best man speech. I've done this many times. If I'm ever doing something serious, I do it in front of Elaine. I had to do that usually for Patricia. I do it in front of Elaine and I'm trying to get over the more difficult bits and I can't. But then once that's happened to you, the next time you do it, it's just so much easier. So I believe that's why my pitch went so well, because she really dragged me through the coals. But it's a great little tip that if you have to do any public speaking, do it publicly before. Don't just learn it. You can learn it off by heart, because I learn all my stuff off by heart when I'm doing it. But like my best man speech went for 15 minutes. I knew it word for word, but I had done it in front of 2 or 3 people beforehand. And they're sitting there not even laughing at your jokes. They're just waiting. Your mum's just waiting for you to stop talking. It's so embarrassing. But then that's the worst of it. She's the worst crowd, So anyway, that was.
So Conor, how would you draw a line therefore from that point? So you've been in business, you've had good times and bad times in business. You had the Dragon's Den, good times and bad times with the Dragon's Den. How did you get from that to this, to what you do? What are you doing now? How do you make your money now?
Yeah. So I was this manufacturer and I ran into a classic business issue, which I hadn't seen coming ever, but people tell you about it, that your cash flow is king. And so I'm getting busier and busier and I'm making really high quality raw dog food, the food I want to feed my dogs. And I'm trying to help people and spending time on the phone and just trying to stay at the front end of your business. But I was slowly getting sucked into the back end of the business, making the food and all the stuff you're not supposed to be doing. You're either out the front of your business doing your thing. If you've done iPet or you consider yourself a canine nutritionist or you've got the love of the subject, you shouldn't be in there making your product. You should be out the front and there should be somebody else doing it, because those 2 things are different worlds. I took my eye off that and I got sucked into the stress of keeping the business going. And my cash flow bottomed out and it came into very big difficulties of trying to meet wages and all the things. You've got to expand all the time. You constantly have to buy freezers. There's breakdowns. The van's broken down. Oh, man, it was so stressful. So I actually went sideways, got somebody else to make it, and I stayed at the front of the business. That was a lesson learned, to stay out the front. I was told that don't get into manufacturing. Don't ever, if you are one of us, like one of us mad dog nuts, and you can promote it and sell it to people, don't go into the back of the business, get it white labeled. So that was that was advice I didn't take. It was really good advice. If you consider yourself in manufacturing, you're happy to do that bit, and you have Bren or Nick or Conor that can do the stuff for you, well, then that's okay. But anyway, so I came out of that business a little bit disillusioned, because I kind of thought I was going to be the biggest raw dog food thing ever, but I just couldn't get paid enough for the food I was making. I wasn't going to make it on pure carcass and crap. So it just got too difficult. And from there, then really, I tried to work for a while, kind of promoting a raw dog food company, like where there was an Irish company here that was making it, and you try to do a bit of that for a year or 2. But I just wasn't happy doing that. It's very hard to, criticize dry food companies and their hoodwinks and their sponsoring of this and that when you're trying to be with another company, So, but you have to pay the mortgage. There has to be. I believe in raw dog food, so I don't give a damn. Like, I'm going to choose the very best raw dog food company and ask them, and always will. Like, so I'll happily work for you. So, I only want to promote outdoor, organic, outdoor reared birds and that kind of stuff. That's the sort of stuff I like. So that's why I gravitate towards some of those outdoor kind of companies. It's just the way I do it. But it's hard to live without doing something like that. It's hard to run any society on nothing, because the people need you need something. You need to be able to pay the bills, and not paying the bills is just so stressful. So that was a couple of years, and then after that I said, right, I'm going out on my own, and I just started writing articles, learning how to write my articles better, and started designing these few supplements that I have. You hear me talking about them all the time: Canident for teeth cleaning and Biofunctionate for good health, and they start ticking over. So that, with writing articles for people and that kind of stuff, doing consults, doing seminars, you just about keep the wolves from the door. But it helps very much that your wife has a job, because the income for me was like this for the last, I come out of college skint, never had a bean in college, into guide dogs, 3 years, 4 or 5 years being paid. And after that, I've just been broke until the last maybe 2 or 3 years. Things are starting to kind of calm down now. And I've got my 3 or 4 revenue streams. That would be supplements. So I've got my supplement range that I like. I co-formulated with a guy that I work with. And so we've got a great business relationship where he makes them and I'm at the front kind of promoting the stuff that I believe in. These things work, and money back guarantee and all that stuff. I know that stuff kind of works. I do some consults, do some kind of writing, and now I've got my webinars up on moving slowly onto the website. So I've got 3 or 4 little revenue streams that now keep me fully independent. So people don't realize, like, when they go and as I'm trying, I need to start selling this better to them, where it's like, I will happily be an independent researcher for the rest of my life, free of any industry influence, if that's what you guys want. But I have to make money. I have to pay my rent. At some stage, I have to be paid for the doctorate that was horrific and the horrific pet food manufacturing and all the other crap I've done. I have to get paid for that soon. A solicitor or an accountant would have been paid for this from the time they were in college. And I'm still trying to make, so people don't understand that. They want all their information for free, but it's very hard to convince people that. So I'm hoping with the webinars, I'm saying, look, guys, whatever, I charge buttons for the webinar. I don't charge enough at all. Neither do you, Nick. But I need to enthuse on people that every time you pay that and watch this high quality independent information, it just frees me up to do another one. And I'll pick any subject and I'll go and do it. It doesn't matter what. I can look at bloody talcum powder and I'd be able to produce a decent, as long as I can pay the bills for the time to produce it. So that's what I see for myself in the future.
So all that time you were writing the book, you were going back, researching it. I mean, because I know that you're a perfectionist when it comes to some of that stuff, that you were going over it, trawling over it, writing it, rereading it, writing it again. You even got me and Nick to have a look at it. I don't know why. It's just, so what probably were, so how long do you feel that process went? Let these guys know how long that book was in process before you actually managed to get it published.
10 years, like 10 years is the throwaway figure. 2020, I started in 2010 on an Australian Mac that I had. And I was 1 year in Australia at that stage, I think, 2006, 2009, God, I was 1 year in Australia when I realized my superiors weren't picking up what I was putting down. So I created this raw dog food seminar in Perth, which is the first time it's ever been offered to people in Perth, a pet nutrition seminar. And can you believe that the people that sponsored Murdoch University, I'm just going to leave the pet food company out, but one of the big ones, sponsored, they flew in the head person from their head nutritionist from the UK all the way down to Perth in Australia, and they put on a seminar half the price of mine 2 days before mine. Can you believe it? Ooh. And they hit the same people I did, and they said afterwards you can take a tour of the insert pet food company premises in the veterinary department. And a breeder said, heads up, Conor, check out what they're doing. And I just straight away put that up online and said, this is my first online thing, where it's held up going, look at this. You can have a tour of the pet food company's veterinary department premises. Isn't that something? Enjoy yourselves, guys. So they had a crappy little turnout. I had a really good turnout, like 150 people or something came to mind. Really scary. And the bloody rep walks in. Lovely girl. Lovely, dead on. She walks in, shakes my hand. She goes, just to let you know, I'm somebody from insert pet food company. And she sits down in the front row. And I had to do my seminar for the day. Hardcore. That was my first lesson in. Wow. Ooh, this is darker than I thought it was. This is hard work. So I just thought there's dirt here. And so when I started looking into the dirt, the very first thing was I fell into Lonsdale's website. Billinghurst and Lonsdale, the two natural vets over in the Australia, doing what Brian and Nick are doing over here. So that was the start of the book. And then 10 years later, that book nearly ruined my marriage. I'm not messing, because Lane could never understand, anybody that's outside of that sort of stuff can't possibly understand the level of shit that goes through, like trying to find one paragraph on something. And it's like, I need to read up everything on this and make sure that when I say there's no studies supporting high use carbohydrates in dogs, I need to know that's true. It's only one little paragraph in the book. Okay, the carbohydrate chapter is huge. But it's like, okay, do I understand diabetes? Do I understand what I'm talking about? Do I want to mention that? And it's like, everything. And that's like getting you out of one chapter. It could be a year in every chapter, and it's like never ending kind of pothole. So I loved it. And if I was on my own, I probably would have sat there. I work at night time. If I'm writing anything, I write at night time, 8, 9 o'clock. So now I get the kids to bed, but I could be up to 2 or 3 and then up again at 7 with the kids. So if you're trying to do any sort of creating, that's when I do it at night time with a glass of wine. I come downstairs at 2 o'clock in the morning, my head is buzzing, I can't sleep, and I'm like lying there for an hour. So I've been working very hard. No doubt you guys have as well, but you know how it is when you're at the your business isn't quite settled yet, so you're just putting everything into it to get it to a point. Somebody asked about the revenue stream of the books. Yeah, absolutely, the book is grand. It brings a consistent, nice little. You might sell 10 or 20 copies a day. But because I didn't sell it to a publisher, I used Nick and Bren and everybody else that would talk about it. And I, if it's good enough, it'll sell. So as opposed to like, if you sell to a publisher, they do everything and you get this massive spike in sales and it peters off and it disappears a little bit. But mine's a factual book. And so it stays in content. You've got these canine nutrition courses are all recommended it. So yes, it's a nice, now you're getting paid for that. But if you think about the amount of man hours that went into that, again, you'd be many years trying to get that back. But I think more to the point, that sort of book kind of makes people are always impressed by it. Oh, you've got a book, so I'm proud of that. More than anything else I've done, that book has been very, very, I'm proud of that I got that done. But geez, I don't think I could ever do a book like that again.
Do you think that has been, rather than it being a revenue in its own right, it's been a good stepping stone for improving all of the other things that you've done? Do you feel that it has promoted you in other spheres?
Yeah, definitely. You get more opportunities pop out. Like when you hear of Habib's opportunities from Forever Dog, they're completely different to mine. But it does improve things. Like you can put up these dorky, horrible ads, which I'm doing on Facebook at the moment, just learning. And you're saying you're holding the book going, top rated on bookauthority.org, and it's just like, it's just fucking Irish and English people hate doing that stuff. We are very bad at promoting ourselves. I don't know what that is. It's like, with the Americans, it's like, good on you, go on, go you, get that car and go. And I don't know, I feel like Irish and English people are kind of like, don't get above your station, just be a bit there. So it's very hard to hold up a book and kind of point and go, oh, I did that. It's awful, but you have to keep doing that and keep it in people's heads. They have to. So there's a bit of that going on and learning that end of things. But I actually like the science of that sort of stuff. You can run a little ad and say, look, this is the price of a dental clean and this is how much Canidane costs. It's a no-brainer. Doesn't clean your dog's teeth, they'll give you your money back. Simple. And it's interesting to see that works because so many dogs with eating dry and canned crap need something like that. So it's like, yeah. So there's something to that. So having the book kind of helps. I was like, hey, he wrote a book on this.
So what you've got to do is you've got to hold up, because I know Rodney's probably watching this because he's over in Europe at the moment. So he's probably keyed in. Yeah. So he might make a comment if you're lucky. So what you've got to do is hold up your book and go, oh no, sorry. You mean that one? Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah. I like there's his quality as well, but it's the difference in, like, if you have a bit of a following, you don't really need, like, if I was Karen and Rodney, I would have done the exact same way they did. That's the way to do it. But I was kind of smaller and I kind of thought, I'm just going to leak it along. I'm not sure anybody would have picked up that book before Forever Dog. And now people are thinking, oh, Jesus, there's a market in pets. But before their book, nobody would have picked up my book, a big, heavy scientific tome. Who wants to read that? Well, tens of thousands of people there. So
I think quite a lot of people did. Well, before, because Forever Dog, don't forget, it was probably a good year after yours. I think.
I helped them, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that? Yeah, absolutely. That's why they're doing so well.
Absolutely. It was me.
Rodney's going to come on here and go,
he owes me money.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So from a point of view of, do you feel that you've seen a market shift towards your supplement, for instance, with having the book out compared to where you're at? Or do you think that if you look at your graph that was going up anyway?
Yeah, like things are limping along. I used to have a really busy website. I used to have about 300,000 people a month, new visitors coming to my website. That's serious. You can make really good revenue from that. So if you've got pancreatitis and you say to people, look, you need to add in some pancreas into their diet. Nobody can get pancreas anywhere. Now and then you can find a little bit of raw pancreas, usually pork pancreas. And if I said, look, dry pancreas will do the job, add in a bit of dry pancreas. Where do they get dry pancreas? Well, I might as well link to the person that has the dried pancreas. And then I'll get 3% of that sale or 4% of that sale or something if they buy it. So 3 years ago, I kind of thought, great, I can actually write for a living, write engaging articles that people clearly were lapping up. I was topping Google, #1 on Google for itch and kidney disease at one stage in dogs, like topping all these other websites in big, and people are eating up. And then 4 years ago, Google changed their algorithms and said, yeah, we're not going to do it that way. And now we're going to do it this way. And my traffic just starts going, brrr. All the natural websites would say they got it in the back. And that information is no longer welcomed. But that's what the people were picking up. They were loving my info. and then it's now I'm down to page 2 and 3 and that kind of stuff. So you do a bit of work on myself, and Karen's helping me out as well. And you have to kind of get Google back on side. So when you're asking about the supplements, a lot of the supplement sales come from people reading an article on meaty bones or the gum disease or something, and then saying, okay, this product actually might work. And look, don't forget, I wrote the book. I'm not bullshitting you. I do know what I'm talking about. So that's why the book kind of helps. You can kind of get it there. But I think it all adds up together a bit. And doing RPM, just being seen to be talking about stuff, I don't even have to be knowledgeable beside you guys. I just have to not make a fool of myself, really, and just ride your coattails for a while. So like, it's lucky now.
Karen's got it so right.
Facts. But yeah.
So just as we're coming into the final furlong here, Conor, is there anything you want to say? This is your program today. We'll probably do the same thing next year, I would think, if we're spared, all three of us. But anything you want to leave us with? If you could please give us some top business tips in Patreon. After we finish this show, that would be really, really good. So that's something to look forward to. So if anybody's interested in Patreon, we go to Patreon/RawPetMedics, etc.
Yeah.
But just any final thoughts, final words, philosophy, or anything that you comes to mind?
Oh God, no! I wish I had something prepared for this. Not really. I think it's difficult. It's difficult to be in this job. This is a tough gig to be in. It's there's only 200 natural vets turned up at the Natural Vet Convention in the US, and I think that people are and this is going to sound quite conceited, but people kind of I see this as really valuable information. I see what we're doing as really valuable, and I think the temptation today is that people kind of want everything for free, and really people don't really understand the cost of things. And there's a reason why bullshit information does so well, because there's loads of money behind it, marketing and nonsense, and they pay the right institutions. And I think that supporting kind of natural vets and people that are doing this kind of stuff is a really good thing. Like, and it's going to sound like a terrible slant, but like, even with Patreon, like, your price of a cup of tea, you're looking for per month from, if we got it from 2% of our followers, we're getting 10, 20,000 views every video, we'd be doing grand. It's very hard for people at the moment. I get all that, but it is hard to do this and stay on top of the information coming in and reading the studies and stay independent. People want the information from an independent, but it's hard graft to get to we are. And I know for every one of me that is now a canine nutritionist non-vet who doesn't have the steady income of seeing clients every day, so as a vet, you at least have income coming in. You don't have to worry that your kids aren't going to have a new bike or something. So without that, it's very hard for someone that's a non-vet to make it to this point and working with dogs, natural health. So it's really, really tough. For every one of me, there's 99 people out there stressing their brains out trying to do it. It's hardcore. So I just think I don't know what the point is to that. I just think it's hard to kind of I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough old gig, It's tough trying not to bullshit people and joining some dry pet food company and making loads of money. And that avenue is there for me, but you don't do it. But so I don't know what the bottom line is to that. But I do think about that now and again. I think about some people run themselves into the ground doing this sort of stuff, and it's hardcore. Trying to. Half of it is trying to help people, but now I'm thinking I need to make a business out of this at some stage, because my wife is going, oh, come on, Conor, this is like, you're a few years in, you need to be able to buy your own shoes at some stage. So yeah, so that's it. I just I think I'm suitably poor, and I've done the poor thing for long enough. So it's like, give me loads of money now. No, I don't know what my point is. It's hard.
Well, you know what? I think you do it with really good grace, and you do it with. I like the way you write, because it's very factual, and you don't pull any punches, and it's fun.
Yeah, it is rewarding.
It's lively and it's fun, and you'll F and blind here and there a little bit in a very kind of Irish way. So it's very charming, and I think you're getting the message across in a really fantastic way. So that is congratulations, rewarding. Well done.
Well, there you go. That's good. Good on all of us. It is definitely rewarding, though, isn't it? There's a bit of a buzz from it for sure.
It is. It is fun. I wouldn't be doing it. I promise you. Whatever you paid me, if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. True.
So listen, let's say goodnight to everybody just now. We're going to jump over onto Patreon just now, and we're going to just grill Conor for 5-10 minutes on just business. A lot of people coming onto Patreon who are from the raw feeding business world, the nutrition business world, and we're trying to maybe get everybody together and start thinking about coming together, being strong, working together. So how's that sound?
If you want to know the answers to, are there more questions about books and what he's going to write and what we might or might not write, join us over on Patreon, because that's where he's going to reveal the secret.
Where it's at.
I think Pet Care there made a good, Pet Care, Hutchison Pet Supplies, they made a good point there. Many retailers in the same position. Absolutely. I posted about that 4 or 5 days ago. In my 10 minutes on Patreon, we'll be talking about small business and the tips that I took and didn't take and that kind of things that I thought were successful. But I said it there 4 or 5 days ago, tough time to be in small business, no matter who you are, whether you're trying to do my thing or you're trying to manufacture. As your lecky bills go up and you're trying to be a raw dog food producer or storer, if you're a pet food company, if you're a pet shop, every single aspect is going to get it. This winter is going to be particularly hard, but raw dog food just makes it that much more difficult. So, keep the head down, guys. I saw a really good company, Nutriwalds, went to the wall there. Did you see that a few days ago? Really good quality company. That's such a loss. Just goes to show you that these people are operating on such fine margins. This is not Weetabix sold you for €4 a kilo. This is fillet steak sold you for €4 a kilo, and it's bloody hard to try and exist in that little margin there and keep the lights on. Any fluctuation kills off these companies, and it's behind that is a family that that are not making good money this winter, and there's real shit behind that. You're not guaranteed money, and that's hardcore. But sure, what can you do? So, hats off to the producers and the manufacturers and the small pet shops and the groomers and all the other people trying to make it. It's not easy. So, good on you.
Yeah,
keep
for
it
sure.
up. Yeah.
So, as Rach Max says, what are we doing next week, boys? Should we think about it in Barcelona?
No, we're gonna do a review of Barcelona.
Okay. A review of Barcelona.
Safe.
Yeah, cool.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And don't forget to
have a few sombreros on and a bit of bottles with lines in the top.
Suntan around your shades and all that kind of stuff. Don't forget, guys, any small producers, any small shops, any small businesses looking for a hoosh up. I don't care if you're a groomer, a trainer, it doesn't matter. If you've got a little bit of a story, or you're doing something cool, or you're making a funny treat or something, anything you think that is kind of interesting, send us the message. Let us have a look at it. And at some stage in the next 2 or 3 shows, we're going to prep up, because Barcelona's going to distract us this weekend, so we can't be doing anything serious. But we will prep it, and we'll pick 2 each, and we'll give it a little bit of a push in a show in 2 or 3 shows. We'll give your company a push, because everyone's going to need it. So send in your messages, PM your messages to us on Patreon or even on Facebook, but keep it short, 100 words, 200 words. Why we should give you a push. We'll pick 2 each. Okay. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Great
okay.
Stuff. See you guys
soon, guys.
Take it easy.
Yeah.